Alright, here we have the hold down from BitterRoot. Goes into your own device. It comes with several other tools for holding your injector into the assembly position and disassembly positions. Alright, step number one. Once everything's cleaned, we're going to take the needle. If we can get a good background here. And we're going to take the nozzle. Needle's going to go into the nozzle, and then that's going to go into your lower housing assembly. So carefully put that here. Alright. Next we put the whole assembly with that needle and nozzle into the holding tool. Alright. Next, we'll be putting in the small pins. I use a pair of tweezers for that. Alright, I've got the diagram from BitterRoot attached to my wall here, so I know the order that everything goes in. We have the needle that went to the nozzle into the housing. Next we got the two pins, and next will be the barrel. Alright, so next we have the barrel. The barrel can go either way. I don't see any wear marks on it. So we put the tweezers inside, and I put my fingers here to hold the tweezers out. Hold the bottom of the nozzle in place and adjust slightly so it goes down over the needles. And we twist the bottom of the nozzle slightly so that we can make sure that inside that it spins. There we go. We're going to be doing it throughout the assembly process. Alright, next we have the spring seat, which is a little, looks like a little hockey puck. It's got a lot of wear on one side and not a lot on the other. Side with a lot of wear, we want to put it in the same position as it was. That's where the spring pushed against it. So if it flips upside down or something, then we'll have to pull it out and redo it. Alright, went in perfectly. So it goes into the bottom of that barrel. So the barrel doesn't look that much different, but the spring seat is in there now. Alright, our rebuild kit comes with a new spring. So we're going to set the spring in there. And there's a small dowel called a spring pin that goes into the center of the spring. Again, I'm going to show you what this looks like. Got a position so you can see with the light. There we go. So the dowel is inside of the spring. If we spin the nozzle, if I can find it here, you see it all turns together. My next series of parts I've got laid out. By the way, this is diesel fuel. This is diesel oil. This plate will get a new check ball installed after I install the plate. We'll also get this little puck here installed onto here. The puck has a lot of wear on one side. Don't know if you can see it or not, but it's inside of here there's a round section, and that's where that puck has sat on there for so long. We're going to put it in the same position so that it seats correctly. Then we're going to put the check ball in here, and then we're going to put this plate on top. Again, fitting these over the dowels so that everything fits in place and can be lined up correctly for the injector. Oh, I didn't put my dowels in. Got my short ones on, but now we put another pair of dowels into the top of the barrel. I forgot about that. Dowels, pins, whatever you want to call them, they're small. These are the longer dowels. Two first dowels are the same length. Set this in place on the dowels. I'm going to spin it. Alright. Again, I keep my pins perpendicular to the vise, or actually parallel to the vise. That way I can more easily find the pins when I'm putting the parts in. Next we're going to put the check ball in the hole, and then the little puck on top of that hole, and then the top plate on top of that all. So the kit comes with new check balls. So we take one, and we set it in place, and put our miniature hockey puck in place. Again, notice I carry these parts over with my hand underneath because, oh, it flipped over. Alright, then our top plate goes on. And there we go. Alright. So again, I'm going to spin everything. It all turns together because the pins are lined up correctly. The top plate partially covers the ball, so that ball's not going to come out. See that there's a hole in there. I was afraid it would come out, but it does partially cover and keeps it from coming out. Alright, next we have this barrel that has the band on one side that covers a check ball. So again, we have a new check ball from our kit that will go into here. So we place the band over it, make sure that it's seated on top of the check ball and centered. I'm going to take my time to adjust this, fine tune it. Just because I like things to be centered correctly. And here you can see, I don't know if you can see or not, but the check ball band is aligned over the ball itself. So that's what we need. Just making sure it's as centered as possible before installing. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set this inside our diesel fuel. So get some fuel on it as a lube. And we've got a spring also that will be put in the diesel fuel. So we're going to go ahead and I put the tweezers inside the center of the barrel, and then a finger in there to make sure that they stay in place. And we want to check the position of the pins inside so that we get them lined up correctly. barrel will drop into place when it's lined up right. It's going to take a moment. Okay, pull out here and see what's misaligned. Nothing misaligned. Just haven't hit the pins right. One pin has found its way in. There we go. Both pins are in. Again, we know this because I can spin the nozzle and everything spins together. If part of it doesn't spin, then you know that something hasn't gone in correctly, and you need to back up and start again, which isn't a problem. Our spring. And the pin that goes onto the spring, we're going to put the fuel. Make sure the pin goes down in there where it's supposed to. Alright. Next, we're going to install 2 more pins, which I probably could have done before I put that spring in. That's okay though. Alright, so now we have the 2 pins installed. Alright, next we're working on some O-rings. Again, our kit from BitterRoot comes with the internal O-rings. There's 3 internal ones. So our first one that we're using is, they call it a small blue one, and it's going to go inside the upper housing. So I go ahead and press that in a little bit, and it goes about, I don't know, 2 centimeters in, and then has to be finagled around to fit correctly. So I use a pair of wooden skewers, cooking skewers. So I'm going to push it down just a little bit to that groove, and then I'm going to take a moment to hold it in place, and I use the other skewer with a pair of chopsticks to squeeze that down. You can also use a pick that has a blunt end. In fact, you may need to, I did that on my last injector. I used a pick with a blunt end and it works just fine. Alright, well, this is one of those time-consuming things that we're going to fast forward. O-ring, let's get a flashlight here. So our O-ring is inside. Again, it's about 2 centimeters down. I'm about going to measure. And I used a little bit of diesel engine oil as a lube because my pinky won't fit in there to lube it afterwards. So I am going to put a little more in there on my pinky and let it drip down a little. Now that the O-ring is inside the upper body housing, we're going to take a little bit of engine oil and put it inside. And we're going to take this piston, it's got a chamfered end, and put a little bit of oil on there as a lube also. We set it in here. And we push down so that it seats onto that O-ring. It's going to take a little pressure. And then again, I use the wooden skewers and I push that down so that that cylinder seats all the way down to the bottom. Alright, next we have a larger O-ring that came with the kit that's going to go onto this seam right here. I'm going to re-wipe down Odin Hush. That's my German Shepherd. I'm out of the room and he just thinks he's got to cry when I've got him away from me. This O-ring's pretty tough, so you need to use some pressure to get it down. We're going to let it sit for a few moments after installing so that it can get its proper positioning in from being rolled over. And I'm going to put a little bit, just a dab, of engine oil on there as a lubricant. And I will take our excess off of the threads. This next part's going to be a little tricky. Again, we've got to line up the holes in the bottom of the upper body with the pins in the lower body. So I roughly line those up and set the upper body over it, and it eventually, there we go, it just sat down into place. So I'm going to spin the bottom nozzle, and when the nozzle spins, everything above spins. I'm going to go ahead and put our holding pin in place for the nozzle, and we use a slight down pressure because it is spring loaded now, and get the threads started. And check your nozzle underneath. Your nozzle should be turning also, and it is. So we're going to get this hand started, and now I'm going to pull the camera away and use the torque wrench. We're going to set our torque wrench for 75 foot-pounds. Alright, there's 70, 2, 4, and 5. There we go. On the end of my torque wrench, I have the adapter from BitterRoot. Get that off. There's a little dust on it. And we're going to spin that around, and we're going to move the camera. Alright, when it gets tough, we're going to pull. I've got it set on 75 foot-pounds. Whoop. 10 kilos. We're going to set back in place. The pin is what holds everything in place while we torque it down. So it takes quite a bit of pulling to get 75 foot-pounds. There we go. Take our adapter off. Set the torque wrench aside. Alright, so now we have an injector upper and lower attached. Nothing moves now because we've got it torqued down and set in place. Next Next we're going to set our poppet in the oil. And set it in the center here. Narrow end goes up. We've got a new spring. It goes around the poppet. So we're going to set that in the oil. And around the poppet. Next we're going to put our hold down on. Alright, so our injector upper body has a section with a nozzle here. This is for the oil to eject, high pressure oil out. And so this larger divot on our hold down has basically, there's a spot for this to go up and then over a bolt, so it's longer, and so we put it on that side of the, so we've got that U-channel matching up with this longer U-channel. There's one here too, but this longer one is the side it needs to go on. Our kit comes with a new O-ring for the poppet body. There's a channel in here that we've cleaned out with Scotch-Brite pad. This channel in here that we've cleaned out with a Scotch-Brite pad, and inside an O-ring sits. So we're going to take the O-ring from the kit, set it in there, and we just work it with our fingers because this one is large enough that we can get our fingers in. I can anyway. I put a little bit of oil on there as a lube. Alright, and inserted from the bottom side is this cylinder. You put your washer on there, and you push it in so that it seats against your O-ring. Oh, there's the compressor. Let's make sure we got enough lube on that O-ring. Put a little lube on here. By lube I mean engine oil. Try this. This is there. Took almost all my body weight to get that to press in. That one was a little tough. Alright, so this also has a hole in one end. This end is also going to face the front for the high pressure oil ejection after the cylinder fires. Next, take the poppet plate, and again, we've got the oil ejection side, which goes onto the side with your two nozzles there, and we get our screws ready. We're going to set that on top of there for now, and then these are our T20 IP screws. Just going to get them started first, and we use a little bit of down pressure because this is spring loaded to get them started. And then the torque spec from BitterRoot says snug. There's not a number given from BitterRoot anyway. Alright, so we get them started. I go opposite sides so that it pulls it down. And I go snug to approximately what I used when I pulled them off. Alright, our kit also came with a new center hold down. Alright, our injector is facing this way, and here's where we're going to be taking this off a couple of times. When I was disassembling this, I took a measurement of the distance between here and this face, and I was not able to get my feeler gauge inside of there, meaning there was no gap. So I anticipate probably finding that again. We're going to set this in place in order to give us a flat edge as a reference. And I will use a large crescent wrench to hold that in place so that it doesn't spin at all. There are parts inside of there. So that gives us a pretty close reference to square. I use a big old ugly crescent wrench to make sure. In fact, I'm going to spin this so it's in a better position for me to work with. Alright. So use that. And again, we go snug. Get it square. We're going to pull this off, and we're going to wind up putting it back on again, because now is when we use our .002 and .004 shim gauge, feeler gauges, to measure. So we're going to start out with .002. And .002 will not go in there. That was the same as my first one. So we're going to take this back apart. Underneath here, we're going to set our shims. The shim gives distance between this top of the poppet and the plate. Alright, we're going to get two shims out, and these shims like to stick together, so you need to get them between your fingers. And yeah, look at that, I had two right there. So get them again, get them between your fingers and make sure they're not sticking together. We put one on and a second on, so that gives us 4/1000 clearance. We're going to set it in place, check our feeler guides, and try again. Also note you can put a dab of engine oil on there to hold these in place so they don't move around. I probably should have put that first, but it'll create a little suction on there that keeps the part of the shim in place. And we're going to use our .002 feeler gauge. 002 goes in all four sides easily. Now we're going to try our 004. And hopefully it'll either be a tight 04. Yeah, we got a little tight 04. There we go. Alright. Alright, because I had to shim my Poppet spacer 4 thousandths, we have to raise the solenoid up also. Otherwise this will touch your plate and wind up getting engine codes for a bad injector service. So what I do is I put a small dab of engine oil under each one of these just to hold them in place. Doesn't take a lot, just a tiny dab. I go ahead and put my T20 IP screws in. Those spacers are going to go around those screws. Now the shims for this are different than the shims underneath the plate. These have a larger diameter shaft hole inside the shim, which allows it to go around this larger screw. Alright, so we've got .002 shims and .003. I'm going to put one on each because I had to raise that up quite a bit. So an 02 on each of these. And an 03 on each. Alright. If your spacer has a drain that's going to go on the back bottom, you can see that little notch right there. This is actually a modified spacer. These came from factory flat, and later they started making them with a notch that allows cold oil to drain out, so that you get less oil buildup underneath the solenoid. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and set that in place, set the solenoid on top, and screw it down. Alright, so the front or top side of my injector is here. Alright, so we're going to carefully set this in place. And This is our T15 IP. Alright, hand tighten first. T15 IP. Yalla. Alright, that is one injector reassembled. Our external O-rings will be a separate video. Call me crazy, but I like to document my rebuilds. So this is driver's side, second injector, which is injector 4. I'm going to put D and then 4. So in the small Ziploc baggie is going to go all the O-rings and springs and check valves and the screw from this injector. So we got 2 check balls there. Grab all the O-rings that came off of that injector, springs, the copper washer. So everything from that injector, I know what came with it. It's going to go into this larger Ziploc. Larger Ziploc, I'm going to write down what my shim measurements were. So again, this was driver's side, so D, and then injector number 4. Measurement, I'm going to put M, was 0 for my shim. Plate, I used 0.002 times 2. Solenoid, I used 0.002 plus a 0.003 to raise the solenoid up. Alright, so in here I also put my external O-ring kit that's going to go with this injector. Alright, so the information is written down on our bag. We put in our external O-ring kit, also from BitterRoot. In here with the injector and the old O-rings. I put the old O-rings in there just until I get them installed and make sure that the truck is running well. That way, if I need to inspect something, see if there was something going on with an O-ring or a spring or I would presume it's probably going to be external O-rings that are going to be in the worst condition, but that way everything's together until that truck is running good. And we close it up and set it all in place next to our first injector. Again, this is driver's side injector number 4. Injector nozzle. Hopefully you'll be able to see the pattern. We got the brake cleaner. You can see the pattern of the Alright. Got a clean nozzle.